Hi everyone, welcome to the 2018 Campus RainWorks Challenge webinar. Our speaker today will be Matt King, representing the US EPA's Green Infrastructure Program. But before we get started, let's review a few housekeeping items. All attendees have been muted to minimize background noise. If you have a question during the presentation, please type it into the questions box on the upper right-hand side of your screen. We'll have a designated time to answer questions at the end of this presentation. If you're experiencing any types of technical difficulties, please type your concern into the chat box and we'll do our best to troubleshoot the issue. Also, during today's webinar, we'll be showing two brief videos which will play through your computer's speakers. So when it comes to that part, please be sure to turn up your computer volume, even if you called in on the telephone, so that you don't miss anything from the videos. But before we dive into the presentation, I would like to take two brief polls so we can get to know our audience a little bit better. How many people are viewing this webcast with you? So please select one from the screen. Okay, thanks for answering that, everyone. And I have one more question here, if you don't mind answering this one as well. How many years of experience do you have with green infrastructure? You can also select one of the options from the screen. Okay, thanks for your feedback. And now I'd like to pass things over to Matt King. Matt has been with EPA's Office of Wastewater Management since 2009, working on EPA's Green Infrastructure Program specifically. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks a lot, Amanda. I also want to thank our attendees that are taking time out of their day to join us. We're very excited to be kicking off another round of EPA's Campus RainWorks Challenge. This is the challenge's 7th consecutive year. Working with stakeholders in the higher education community is very rewarding for us at EPA. We're continually impressed with what our student teams produce from one year to the next. Folks that are with us today may already be familiar with the Campus RainWorks Challenge, or you may be brand new. I think this webinar will offer something for everybody. It's an informational webinar that will provide an overview of the challenge and also introduce attendees to last year's winners. At the heart of the Campus RainWorks Challenge lies the issue of stormwater management. Stormwater runoff is a major cause of water pollution across the United States. When rain falls on our roofs, streets, and parking lots in cities and suburbs, the water can't soak into the ground as it should. Stormwater drains through gutters, storm sewers, and other engineered collection systems and is discharged into nearby water bodies. Along the way, it picks up trash, bacteria, heavy metals, nutrients, and other pollutants and causes receiving waters to become impaired. The presence of nutrients and other pollutants can turn stormwater runoff into a serious threat to public health and the environment. Using nutrients as an example, nitrogen and phosphorus in waterways can result in abnormal algal growth. Some species of algae secrete toxins that threaten drinking water supplies and aquatic life. On the left-hand side of the screen, we see a drinking water intake just offshore from the city of Toledo, Ohio, in Lake Erie. Several years ago, we had just such an algal bloom, and the city's drinking water supplies were shut down. As algae die and decompose, they deprive water bodies of oxygen, creating aquatic dead zones. On the right-hand side of the screen, we see what is perhaps one of the better known dead zones in the world, which is in the Gulf of Mexico. The green plume along the shoreline indicates the presence of nutrients entering the Gulf. and data from NOAA indicate that the dead zone in the Gulf is actually the largest recorded to date. Unfortunately, scenarios like this are all too common and are playing out in other water bodies across the United States. If green infrastructure practices can help mitigate these issues, they can play a valuable role in protecting public health and the environment. So what exactly is green infrastructure, and what's the difference between green and gray infrastructure? Gray infrastructure is designed to move stormwater away from the built environment. Green stormwater infrastructure uses plants, soils, and other media to capture, treat, and evapotranspire stormwater at its point of origin on the ground. By managing wet weather in this manner, green infrastructure has the potential to provide numerous environmental, social, and economic benefits. The term green infrastructure encompasses a wide variety of practices, including downspout disconnection, rainwater harvesting, rain gardens, planter boxes, green roofs, and more. What's the connective thread between all of these various practices? They manage water where it falls instead of conveying it somewhere else. Campus RainWorks is a national green infrastructure design competition that is open to colleges and universities across the country. This is the 7th consecutive year of the challenge, and EPA looks forward to many more. Since the competition started, we've received and evaluated nearly 700 entries from schools across the country, and that's a number that we obviously want to keep growing. Through Campus RainWorks, EPA seeks to connect with today's scholars and have an open dialogue about the challenges of stormwater management, focus on creative interdisciplinary solutions to stormwater pollution, and communicate the environmental, economic, and social benefits of green infrastructure to the broader public. On this slide, we see the words, "Today's students are tomorrow's problem solvers." That's undoubtedly true, but I'd like to take that idea one step further and posit that today's students can actually be today's problem solvers. Seeing the sophistication and enthusiasm that students bring to bear in the Campus RainWorks Challenge, it's apparent to us at EPA that today's students are already up to the task of taking on these important issues and making a difference through their work and creativity. As I mentioned previously, the challenge is a collegiate competition. Student teams must be affiliated with a public or private nonprofit institution located in the U.S. within the jurisdiction of federally recognized Indian tribal governments or within U.S. territories or possessions. Community or technical colleges meeting the same description are also eligible to participate. The logos on the right are from just a handful of the schools that have participated in the Campus RainWorks Challenge over the years. But I think it's a very nice visual representation of the variety of schools that compete from one year to the next. Big schools, small schools, public and private, colleges and universities from across the entire country, from almost every state, have competed. The Campus RainWorks Challenge is open to all eligible institutions. All team members must meet one or more of the following criteria: be enrolled in a degree program at an eligible institution as of August 31st, 2018. Most participants will fall under this criterion. But if you've received a degree from a participating institution within 12 months prior to August 31st, 2018, you are still eligible to compete in the 2018 challenge. Likewise, if you've received a degree from a participating institution within the past 24 months and are currently enrolled in at least one class, either live or online, at a participating institution as of August 31st, 2018, we again welcome you to compete in the 2018 challenge. Each student team must be sponsored by a faculty advisor. The faculty advisor must be a professor at the participating academic institution. Current graduate students and staff that are not considered faculty are not eligible to act as faculty advisors. They can act in a consulting capacity, but the team must still find a faculty member to act as the primary faculty advisor. Team composition and size is at the discretion of the team submitting an entry. However, interdisciplinary teams are strongly encouraged, given that interdisciplinary collaboration is part of the competition's judging criteria. Relevant disciplines include, but are not limited to, landscape architecture, engineering, planning, conservation biology, landscape ecology, hydrology, soil science, economics, and more. EPA welcomes all disciplines to participate. If you have the interest, there's a place for you in this competition. Teams can be composed of students from more than one school, as long as students and participating institutions of higher education are both eligible. However, I do want to point out that the faculty prize, which we'll be covering shortly, can only go to one faculty advisor. Therefore, teams should always list a primary faculty advisor, even in scenarios where there's collaboration between different schools. EPA accepts submissions for the Campus RainWorks Challenge across two categories, the demonstration project category and the master plan category. For submissions in the demonstration project category, EPA seeks designs that examine how green infrastructure can be integrated into a specific site on campus. The selected site can be no more than 15 acres. If desired, demonstration projects can also be located at a nearby elementary, middle, or high school. If teams elect to pursue this alternative site selection option, the selected site must be located within the same community as the academic institution participating, or in a community that is directly adjacent, that is, sharing a municipal border. Demonstration project designs should be realistic in nature. They should be capable of being built within a reasonable time frame and should seek to address one or more local stormwater management issues in a manner that provides multiple benefits. Entries must include information on the design and performance of the proposed green infrastructure practices and should reflect extensive consultation with the Facilities Planning Department to assess project feasibility. If a design is located off-site at a nearby school within the community, the team should consult with facilities staff at the school, school district, or municipal planning department. In contrast to the demonstration project category, master plan entries should examine how green infrastructure can be integrated into a broad area of the team's campus. Entries should provide a systemic vision for how green infrastructure could be further integrated into the campus footprint, providing long-term environmental, economic, and social benefits. Entries should detail how green infrastructure will be implemented in the near, mid, and long-term time horizons. Implementation strategies should be flexible and should allow for the ability to adapt over time as needed. Entries in this category should coordinate closely with existing campus master plans. These documents are useful tools for determining what assumptions should be addressed in master plan entries. For example, growth in the student population or predicted increase in impervious surface over time. Master plan entries must cover an area of 15 acres or more. If the participating school's campus is less than 15 acres, the team's entry must cover the entire campus. Entries from schools with larger campuses can cover an area ranging from 15 acres to the entire campus. While entries aren't required to cover the entire campus necessarily, the selected area should be meaningful in terms of size and/or impact on campus. Connectivity should play a role in defining the scope of the design. Large drainage basins or circulation routes for transportation may help the team determine where green infrastructure interventions should be located. Each year, EPA makes adjustments to the Campus RainWorks Challenge based on stakeholder feedback. If you're wondering what's new this year specifically, we added the area requirements to the two categories and added the flexibility to the demonstration project category in terms of site selection, with local, elementary, middle, and high schools now being a possibility. The bullets listed here comprise a complete entry in the Campus RainWorks Challenge. An entry will include a project narrative, a design board, a letter of support from facilities staff at the participating institution, and a video pitch. The project narrative is the written portion of the entry. The project narrative should provide a detailed summary of the team's approach to the challenge. The design board provides visual understanding of the site, its design elements, and performance. The letter of support comes from the facilities department at the participating institution and should demonstrate consultation with planning staff. This is a small part of the entry, but we believe that this letter is important in terms of securing buy-in from school administrations. For the video pitch, teams are required to submit a 3-minute YouTube video that introduces university stakeholders and the public to their project. Although Campus RainWorks is a design competition, one of the things we always ask ourselves is how can we position these entries such that school administrations might consider funding them. The video pitch gives students an opportunity to advocate on behalf of their project and create more of a lasting legacy. Listed here are the criteria by which entries are judged. They include performance, community engagement, interdisciplinary collaboration, innovation, and more. For a complete accounting of the available points for each criterion, please reference our Campus RainWorks competition brief, which contains all of the applicable rules and requirements for participating in the challenge. You can find the competition brief at www.epa.gov/Campus RainWorks, and that URL will appear on the screen at the end of the presentation during our Q&A time. And now the important part, show me the money. The prize money available for Campus RainWorks isn't a huge amount, but nonetheless, it's nice to be able to give our first and second place teams from each category something to show for their efforts. First place teams in each category receive a student prize of $2,000 to be split amongst team members and a faculty prize of $3,000. Second place teams in each category receive a student prize of $1,000 and a faculty prize of $2,000. The next group of slides will briefly cover the winners of our 2017 Campus RainWorks Challenge and highlight our 2 first place teams. In the demonstration project category, first place went to the University of Illinois, second place went to the University of New Mexico, and our runner-up was the University of Arizona. The photo on this slide depicts a parking lot that the student team from the University of Illinois proposed to redesign. The lot is used daily by staff, students, and community members. Although it's functional, it's subject to flooding during heavy rain events. Additionally, the area around the lot suffers from a lack of shade and plant diversity, as well as generally unappealing aesthetics. It's just a large swath of concrete. To remedy these problems, the team developed a design intended to completely disconnect the impervious areas while also setting an example for future parking lot renovations on campus. The project also features a high likelihood of implementation as the parking lot is currently slated to be renovated in the near future. The top right-hand picture shows the redesigned space, which would result in the annual capture of 10,220 cubic feet of water. That's 76,450 gallons. This would be accomplished through a combination of green roofs, cisterns, bioretention, and permeable pavement installations. The team calculated pollutant loads that the design would prevent from flowing into nearby water bodies. The design would yield measurable reductions in nutrients, bacteria, and metals. In addition, the design would prevent other pollutants such as oil, sediment, and trash from reaching local water bodies. And now I'd like to take a few minutes to stream the video pitch that the University of Illinois submitted.
Located directly south of the main part of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign's campus, parking lot F4 is used daily by staff, community members, and students. Even though this parking lot is used regularly, it is far from perfect. The lot is not well designed and leaves cars, cyclists, and pedestrians unsafely wandering through the lot. During rain events, the lot floods due to poor drainage, and the rain that is discharged is polluted from the contaminants on the surface of the parking lot. A lack of trees and other vegetation make the parking lot unnecessarily hot and take away from the aesthetics of the area. Our project addresses these problems while setting an example for future campus parking lot renovations. Polluted stormwater is directly discharged from the site into Boneyard Creek, a small creek that runs through campus. Previous water quality issues put Boneyard Creek on a list of impaired waterways. Not only will the green infrastructure reduce the amount of water that is discharged into the creek, but will also treat the water to improve the quality. By planning the site to include trees and vegetation from the beginning, there will be adequate spacing for the plant life to grow. In addition to reducing the pollutant load on the local creek, we aim to reduce the use of the storm sewer in order to lower the university's stormwater bill. People will be drawn to the site's educational and recreational area that has a welcoming outdoor gathering space. While children can play in the mulched area, adults and children alike can learn more about the green infrastructure by viewing the informative signage. Jessanne Gonzalez, a team member that focused on the social and economic impacts of the project, will describe these ideas in more detail.
Fab Lab, an open community center for innovative and creative design, is located in Art Annex 2 off of Goodwin Avenue. This center serves a demographic that is largely varied with ages ranging from 8 into late adulthood. Our proposed design caters to this demographic by including elements such as a seating area and children's recreational space. We aim to incorporate educational signage such as an informational scavenger hunt to engage people of all ages.
In conclusion, we believe that our design will positively impact not only parking lot F4, but also the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign's campus as a whole.
Moving on to our 2017 winners in the Master Plan category. First place went to the University of California at Berkeley. Second place went to the University of Maryland at College Park. And our runner-up was again the University of Arizona. The top right-hand photo depicts the University of California at Berkeley campus. The green area that you see traces the path of Strawberry Creek, a water body that runs through the heart of UC Berkeley. As you can see from the bottom photo, it's also subject to flooding and water degradation as a result of stormwater runoff. The Berkeley team focused on the potential of the creek as a connective feature for green infrastructure interventions. Their design strategically located green infrastructure practices throughout campus, including green roofs, cisterns, bioretention, and also riparian habitat restoration to restore hydrological and ecological function to Strawberry Creek. The green infrastructure interventions bulleted on this slide would be capable of capturing the runoff from 80 square blocks. This team aimed big, seeking to mitigate 100% of the impervious surface on campus. Unlike most proposals, this entry really emphasized the need for long-term planning and commitment, as evidenced by the 83-year time horizon for implementation. Phases would be completed by 2025, 2050, 2075, and 2100. In the master planning world, this is somewhat of an unconventional time horizon, but judges respected and valued this proposal for its vision and long-term commitment to stormwater management. There's some significant value in that commitment because the larger community of Berkeley, or even other parts of California, are going to look at this master plan and say, look what our flagship school is doing. Look what benefits they're obtaining. We need to do this too.
Okay.
And now we'll take a few minutes to watch UC Berkeley's video pitch.
The University of California, Berkeley lies in the eastern hills of the San Francisco Bay Area. From these hills flow numerous creeks, including Strawberry Creek, which serves as our school's trademark landscape feature. The central campus and its uphill adjacent property, a forested canyon that encompasses numerous university facilities, comprise the watershed of Strawberry Creek, while downhill of the campus lies the urban grid that composes the city of Berkeley. This spatial relationship is important to recognize because it provides the unique opportunity of addressing stormwater capture and quality before the flows reach the city and the bay. This will be difficult as the region's Mediterranean climate poses challenges that cannot be ignored, evident in recent droughts, wildfires, and storms. Through research, iterative design, and discussions with local professionals and numerous campus administrators, we sought to harness the bounty of information before us to create a rich and coherent proposal. We developed a methodology that harnesses the existing long-range master plan and pairs it with a robust analysis of contemporary factors and a comprehensive toolkit of stormwater-oriented green infrastructure. The goal was to create a process that could be passed along to campus administrators that would aid in future master plan development and quantification of impacts such as water detention and fiscal savings. The analytics gave way to opportunities and constraints on the campus that highlighted where different technologies from the tactical toolkit could be implemented. What you see here is the proposed master plan of the campus as it would exist in 2100. The construction would not happen all at once, but in phases. The first phase being completed in 2025, followed by 2050, 2075, and 2100. All pathways and sidewalks will be replaced by permeable pavements. Roadways will be managed using bioretention and vegetated filtration strips. Some existing buildings will be retrofit to have disconnected downspouts to enable rainwater capture. Proposed buildings will be engineered to incorporate green and blue rooftops, all of which will aid in the reduction of pollutant load and peak flow within the Strawberry Creek watershed on campus. Regenerations is a vision of campus which integrates spatial and temporal strategies for green infrastructure to benefit local communities and future generations.
Thanks, Amanda. Looking ahead, registration for the 2018 challenge is currently open and will remain open through the end of September. Entries will then be due on December 14th. Once entries are received, they'll be evaluated and scored by judges from EPA, the Water Environment Federation, the American Society of Civil Engineers, and the American Society of Landscape Architects. Winners are announced in the spring, usually around the time of Earth Day. At this time, I'd like to open things up for questions. If there are any questions that I can't answer here today, I've provided contact information for myself, as well as our primary Campus RainWorks inbox. Please touch base with me following the webinar. And if you come up with questions later, please feel free to contact me at any time. The URL listed contains much of the information that we've talked about today, but importantly, includes a link to the competition brief for the 2018 challenge. This is a critical document because it contains all of the applicable requirements for participating in the challenge and includes detailed instructions on how to prepare and submit complete entries. It's a document that all participants should read closely. And with that, I thank everybody for their time, and I'll take any questions that people have.
Great. Yes, we did get a couple questions, and for the rest of you who still have some and want to ask those, please type those into the chat box and we can get those answered. And so a question I have here, Matt, is many universities maintain facilities and properties that are separate from the main campus. Can Campus RainWorks entries utilize these sites for the demonstration project or master plan categories?
That's a great question. It's one that we've received in the past. What we typically use as the decision point for that question is the satellite property considered part of the campus? That is it, are students visiting it to conduct research? Is there foot traffic? Or, is it like a storage facility somewhere? What we say is, if that satellite property is still considered part of the campus, we welcome teams to consider that location for their site design in either category. However, I will add one caveat in the master plan category. Our intention is that, like any master plan, we want the design to consider not just, satellite properties, but the main campus itself. But if students wish to fold these satellite properties into the larger design that also includes the main campus, that would also be acceptable. Great question.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. Someone is wondering, is this presentation and webinar going to be made available to people who have listened in today?
Yes, we are recording today's webinar, and we are planning to post the video to EPA's YouTube page. Folks should have access to that video in approximately 1 week following the conclusion of this webinar. And as we continue to distribute additional updates on registration for Campus RainWorks, when that video is available, we'll make sure that we let people know that they can check it out.
Great, thanks. Someone is wondering, because you were talking about the maximum project area, is there a maximum project area for master plan projects?
We did not stipulate a maximum project area for master plans. One of the interesting aspects to Campus RainWorks is that we field teams from schools of all sizes. University of Illinois is a school of over 30,000 undergrads, and we field entries from schools with 3,000 undergrads. And those campuses are going to have drastically different footprints. We did want to stipulate a floor for master plan areas because, as we said, we want those entries to consider a larger footprint than the demonstration project designs. But no, we didn't stipulate a maximum size for master plan designs.
Okay, that's good to know. What types of information will judges be looking for with respect to financial viability?
One of the reasons we want students to consider, how a project could be paid for is, once you graduate and, perhaps enter the consulting world or some other similar line of work, when it comes to infrastructure projects, how you pay for things is a huge part of the calculus. And, in our opinion, it's never too early to start considering these factors. There's quite a bit of information in the competition brief and various resources that registrants can check out with respect to financial viability. But I would say the short version of that is we want students to take a hard, realistic look at how the project could be paid for. We don't think it's sufficient to say that a combination of grants will pay for the project. We want something a little more descriptive and a little more concrete, and it's got to be a realistic path to project financing.
Okay, thanks. Beyond meeting judging criteria or the judging criteria, are there other qualities that past winners have demonstrated?
That's a good question. Certainly the two projects that we featured today, I think, showed off different qualities that were extremely appealing to the judges. In the case of UC Berkeley, their long-term vision and commitment to managing 100% of the stormwater runoff on campus was an impressive aspect of their design. And it was something that the judges definitely found very impressive. It was a true master plan entry that looked at how these green infrastructure interventions were going to be implemented in the near, mid, and long-term time horizons, which is an essential part of the master planning process. In the case of University of Illinois, our judges thought that particular project was a really nice mix of sort of realistic pragmatism. This is a site design that's imminently doable, and as we stay in touch with the staff at that school, there's a real possibility that the renovation of that parking lot might actually get off the ground. So I would say a combination of both pragmatism and that having that creative vision still in the mix is something that's going to be appealing to judges. The other aspect of the University of Illinois' entry that was impressive was across all judging criteria, they displayed a very consistent, strong performance with some impressive attention to detail and some real skill, in the areas of engineering and landscape architecture. So they used it as a chance to really show off their knowledge and expertise. But real world implementation, feasibility, and vision, those factors are going to separate the really excellent entries from the rest.
Great. I have another question here. The video pitch requirement is a recent addition to the challenge. What prompted EPA to add this video pitch to the entry requirements?
There were several reasons that we wanted to introduce the video pitch concept to the Campus RainWorks challenge. I believe in the first year of the challenge, we actually asked students to create a video presentation. But our main motivation in bringing it back was we wanted to create a more lasting legacy for these projects. Students put a tremendous amount of time, effort, and creativity into producing these products and giving them some additional life online, I think is a good thing. It's nice to be able to show off their efforts with as large an audience as possible. The other aspect of the video pitch that we at EPA find particularly appealing is it's a part of the competition where teams have sort of absolute creative control. And the current generation of college students is a very tech-savvy bunch. They produce some impressive production value in the videos that we saw this past year. And I think it's just a really nice opportunity for these scholars to just be their own advocates and tell us what separates their project from the rest, and tell their administration why they should take a hard look at maybe one day building this thing. Good question.
Great, thanks. That's it for questions that have come in so far.
Well, if that wraps up our questions for today, I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of your day to attend. I hope you found this webinar to be informative And if you are here today because you are considering registering for the 2018 Campus RainWorks Challenge, I strongly encourage you to do so. We welcome your participation. We welcome everybody's participation in this challenge, and we look forward to seeing your entry. Thanks.